Well, Sony made big sports news last week with its acquisition of KinaTrax. Brandon Costa from Sports Video Group, pleased to be joined by Rufus Hack, he's CEO of Hawkeye, Pulselive, Beyond Sports. You can now include KinaTrax in that quadfecta of sports brands under the Sony Sports umbrella. Rufus, thanks so much for taking the time. Exciting news for you all, and appreciate you reflecting on what this means for everyone today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Brandon. I'm looking forward to talking about it.
All right, so KinaTrax is a motion capture technology, specifically a markerless one that, in terms of sports, kind of collects in-game, in-competition biometrical data of an athlete. So, what was it about KinaTrax specifically that you feel made it an appealing addition to what y'all are building in this Sony Sports business?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our vision at Sony Sports is to very much unlock the power and emotion of sport through data. And as you said, we had three incredible businesses: Hawkeye, Pulse Live, and Beyond Sports. And increasingly, what we're hearing from the world's top sports leagues, we now work with 23 of the world's top 25 sports leagues, is they want us to be able to take that data and not only collect it in super low latency, high fidelity, which we do through Hawkeye, but then productize it for lots of different use cases. And we've been on that journey over the last couple of years to really build out what that data can be used for. And so Hawkeye has sort of grown up in collecting data and use it for officiating purposes. We do that in tennis, we do that in cricket, we do that in soccer, and we're increasingly doing that in the US sports now. Beyond Sports, which was an acquisition we did about 2 years ago, uses and collects data or uses the data for fan engagement experiences. So one of the things that we did together with the NFL and Beyond Sports was to do the recreation of one of the London series games last year in Toy Story IP to try and create new ways in which fans can engage with sports content. And Pulse Live takes the data and then visualizes it through digital platforms to create new fan engagement experiences. For us, KinaTrax was about taking that same skeletal data and then moving into a new use case, a new purpose, which is around player performance and injury prevention. And it is quite incredible when you see this KinaTrax technology in action. So they effectively capture 500 frames per second of over 30 skeletal points on a player's body. And what does that mean that you can do? In game, you can actually see whether a player is potentially starting to carry an injury because their biomechanics will change. If their stride length is shortening, they might be getting tired. If a pitcher in baseball is over rotating their rotator cuff, potentially you may look at making some pulling them off after the fifth innings rather than off after the sixth innings. So there's an awful lot of use cases that you can potentially employ with that.
Sure, yeah, you can obviously see there's bigger implications here in terms of player training, player performance, officiating too when you bake in Hawkeye. But to selfishly look at this through a broadcast lens, a sports video group, how do you see KinaTrax's technology and what it does really well, potentially enhancing the main broadcast production, alternate feeds? Obviously, that markerless element is critical. The line that you got to get to in order for it to be really effective in a live sporting environment. How do you see this impacting broadcasts specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that as the broadcast becomes more nuanced and more personalized and more sort of focused on the fan, there is an opportunity to create many different broadcast streams for many different segments. And actually, what KinaTrax provides alongside Hawkeye by collecting high fidelity, low latency data is provides the opportunity to create new media narratives that effectively can be fed into certain broadcast streams or potentially overlaid on through AR onto those broadcast streams. So you can provide the segment of fans who really cares about deep data and getting real insight into the game with the next level of detail. And in the past, we've very much focused on how can you get more analysis and context around the game in terms of performance data. Actually, this enables you to take the biomechanical data and provide some incredible stories and insights within the broadcast feed. So as you can start, as we have been with the NBA, start to have insights around how high a player jumps, how quickly they run. And so you move from just collecting center of mass data, which provides you with a relatively, in some cases, rudimentary set of narratives and data inputs, to a really deep biomechanical set of inputs, which can actually tell more stories around quite how exceptional some of these athletes are in different sports. And I think the KinaTrax play around this is that real validity and authenticity in the biomechanical space, and being able to tell stories about what is actually driving performance.
Okay. So, how does this KinaTrax puzzle piece fit into the bigger puzzle of what you all are building with Sony Sports? You combining, we've mentioned them already, Hawkeye, which sports fans here in the United States even are very familiar with, Pulselive, Beyond Sports, KinaTrax, those four brands together. What do those puzzle pieces together do you feel build?
Yeah, I think for us it's twofold. So we've got really bold ambitions within Sony Sports. Sony already has multi-billion-dollar businesses in other entertainment genres of Sony Pictures, Sony Music, Sony PlayStation. We want to build out our sports business, and
Mhm.
that's through going really deep with the leagues to help them unlock this asset of data. We work with most of the world's top leagues, as I said, in terms of collecting this data. And so, if we can unlock that for lots of different use cases, whether that's officiating, whether it's fan engagement, whether it's performance, whether it's media narratives, we want to be that partner who brings a lot of this stuff together for the world's top leagues. And then the second piece that we're very interested in is, at the moment, the vast majority of our business is working with the leagues themselves. We believe there's incredible opportunity to start to use this data and insight more for the teams.
Mhm.
And you look at some of the numbers, particularly in the US market, in terms of wage bills. I think the average wage bill in the MLB is about 150 million. They would typically have 50% of that, sorry, 50 million of that on the injury bench at any one time. If you can make relatively marginal gains through collecting biomechanical and analyzing biomechanical data to reduce your injury list, that can have huge gains. Then we look
Mhm.
at it on the scouting side of things. I think there's a stat that only 20% of quarterbacks who get drafted in the first round are successful in the NFL. Again, by interrogating that biomechanical and that medical history and data, you can make much more informed decisions around your recruitment and your selection decisions. So for us at the Sony Sports level, we think actually the businesses we have are incredibly synergistic to provide a really end-to-end integrated value proposition for both leagues and teams. I mean, we're not a private equity company. We're never going to be
Mhm.
in the business of just buying companies and then flipping them. We want to build long-term shareholder value by having a real integrated proposition and driving real value for sports leagues and teams.
Okay. So lastly, what's next for the Sony Sports division? Do you anticipate this needing to grow more? Are there other elements that you're looking to get more expertise in? Do you think there'll be other companies down the line? Obviously, not asking you to spoil anything here, but or is this the core that you all wanted to build? I guess what's next for you guys? You mentioned the getting more, driving deeper relationships with teams specifically, especially around the biomechanical and health data. But I don't know. And now that this puzzle piece is in place, what's in the immediate future for y'all?
Yeah, so there's a couple of pieces to that, Brandon. Firstly is organically, our business has been growing at 20-30% a year. We want to continue that aggressive growth profile, but I do think there is potential for further M&A down the line. We are incredibly bullish about new consumption behaviors in sport. If you look at empirical data around younger fans consuming sports content, you're 10% less likely to be a sports avid fan if you're under the age of 20 than over the age of 20. We don't think there's anything structural around that. We
Mhm.
think that the sports industry just hasn't done a good enough job of appealing and providing content to that segment as they like to consume content. And so by collecting data and recreating it in different formats, we think there is a huge opportunity to make that sports experience more participative, more immersive, and potentially more gamified. And we're working with our colleagues at Sony PlayStation to explore whether there's opportunities to potentially do that, to create those different sports viewing experiences. The second thing that we're really excited about now is around how we can start to democratize this technology that we have around data collection into the grassroots in the amateur game. And we've recently introduced a new product called iHawk, which effectively lets you collect the same data that we're collecting for the NFL and for the NBA, but actually just on your phone. So you can start to collect your own analytical data, your own biomechanical data, and then you can use that for coaching. You can use it for performance improvement. You can use it to share it with your friends. You can use it to gamify on the Strava-esque leaderboards. And so there are a couple of dimensions that we're really excited about moving forward.
Okay, well, we know that sports broadcast, while a big and important part of this whole piece, we know that it's just a sliver of what you all are hoping to accomplish here at Sony Sports. So, Rufus, thank you so much for taking the time. Congratulations on the acquisition and wishing you all at Sony Sports the best of luck going forward.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate the time.
All right, he is Rufus Hack. He is CEO of Hawkeye, Pulselive, Beyond Sports, KinaTrax, the whole family at Sony Sports. To learn more about them and to watch more video interviews from us, head on over to our website at sportsvideo.org and our free video platform, SVG Play.